touch one of Ahmadiyyah's son. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kusa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all in Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get mad. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threat.
This is the sound of Eric
It's a cut on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threat. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of Ahmadiyyah's sons, they show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans, and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of Ahmadiyyah's sons, they show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? All right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. Hey, Terry Hinton, Lillian X is in the virtual building, G from the land, 57 Beige Fox. All right, Aquarius Rising, we the people. Let's get into it. Bronze Flat Power God, Shoshana is here, Deronda. All right. Shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. And a big shout out to my moderators, because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. I see you, Del Monte Green Beans, Andrea, Cookie, Millicent, all right, Trisha, Juju. Okay, so that all being said, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. I see you, Desmond, beloved. Okay, let's get it started. I see you there, Crazy Beach Aries.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Kratz. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil. Okay, so now let's get into it because we have a lot to go over. First things first, let's talk about how days ago I forgot to tell you all that Trump, he's ticked off all these world leaders, and now many of them have been meeting with Iran. Okay, they've been meeting with Iran. Now, we know that the foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, went and visited China days ago before Trump got there. And it looks like they had a good meeting because they're now supposedly sending Iran through a third party weapons and all of that, much to Trump's chagrin, because remember, he asked them not to help Iran. Okay, and sadly, Trump has gone all the way to China to try to get Xi Jinping to help him negotiate for peace with Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. And the only thing it looks like he's going to be coming back with is a warning. Okay, please pay attention, because I told you earlier that Xi Jinping warned Trump about Taiwan, but now there's another news report out about that, so we're going to get into that too. But let's go to this clip where Midas Touch is talking about all these leaders that have met with Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi. Get my overlay.
Through, though, the utter embarrassment and shame Donald Trump is experiencing, Iran announces that its foreign minister Araghchi held bilateral communications with the foreign minister of the UK. Foreign Minister Araghchi announced bilateral negotiations and communications with Turkey, bilateral communications and negotiations with Japan, bilateral negotiations and communication with Saudi Arabia's foreign minister, bilateral communications and negotiation with Spain's foreign minister, bilateral communications and negotiations with Poland's foreign minister, with the foreign minister of Switzerland, with the foreign minister of India, with the foreign minister of Italy, with the foreign minister of South Korea, with the foreign minister of Brazil, with the foreign minister of Turkmenistan, with the foreign minister of Pakistan, with the foreign minister of Kenya, with the foreign... Do you get the point? Do you get the point? And by the way, this is public stuff. They're not hiding it. One by one, foreign ministers of nations that were once allied with the United States are lining up to speak with Foreign Minister Araghchi, because Iran is in a stronger position. And these countries are trying to figure out, how can we get our ships through the Strait of Hormuz? And we have to recognize that Iran is not just a regional power player right now, but is an international power player like never before, as Donald Trump lost war, as the mighty and powerful United States Navy is now reduced to behaving like pirates, as CENTCOM is bragging that it attacks certain ghost ships of Iran, and they want to get like applauded because the powerful U.S. Navy attacks defenseless cargo ships heading to China. I mean, are you kidding me? Our Navy is the strongest Navy in the history of humankind. Our soldiers, as Hegseth likes to say, our war fighters, they are patriots. They are strong. They are the best trained. But in the hands of a sicko, maniac, lifelong bankrupting loser like Donald Trump, we're seeing how it plays out. And the rest of the world sees this. Why do you think they're so publicly calling Foreign Minister Araghchi? Why do you think China's giving Iran the red carpet treatment before Donald Trump's visit with Xi Jinping?
This is all so embarrassing for Trump. Okay, this has to be his worst week ever. Please pay attention, okay? Now, with that all being said, there is a lot going on, beloved. So first off, let's talk about how Satan Yahoo says that he confirmed that he met with the UAE, but Iran also confirmed that they warned the UAE. Okay, so please pay attention. Possibly warning him, well, surely, I'm pretty sure they warned them about Bibi Satan Yahoo. Now, also, you know, people are talking about Trump, how he's in China begging like a dog. Okay, there's a post that was on X. It says Trump looked at Xi Jinping with almost pleading eyes and dropped his head, and left the room in complete silence as if he were begging. Let's go to the clip, because isn't that exactly what I told you all this morning? That he sounded like he was begging like a dog. Okay, this is all so pathetic. Are y'all embarrassed yet? Let's get into it.
Reciprocal on our behalf. So I really look very much forward to our discussion. It's a big discussion. There are those that say this is maybe the biggest summit ever. They can never remember anything like it. I can say in the United States, people aren't talking about anything else. But it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend. And the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before. Thank you very much. Thank you. Totally reciprocal on our behalf. So I really look very much forward to our discussion.
Bless his poor little heart. Okay, he's doing the most. Cookie said, Queen, he was most definitely begging like a wolf wolf. Okay, it is all so sad. This is what he's been reduced to. And I can't think of anyone who deserves it more. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard because there are conflicting reports coming out. Now, they say on the one hand that her office was raided and things were confiscated, but then she comes out and says that this never happened. But then um this other lady comes out, a member of Congress, Luna, and basically says that it did happen. She says, but it wasn't a raid. So I'm like confused. Okay, so anyway, let's go to this TikTok that I did just moments ago before I started this live. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Ahmadiyyah Shakur. It's been reported by Fox News that agents raided Tulsi Gabbard, who's the director of national intelligence. They supposedly raided her office and removed dozens of boxes. Let's get into it. Now, supposedly this all happened when they had a guest speaker on Fox News, and during the discussion segment, this person said, or they alleged that they had raided Tulsi Gabbard's office and taken boxes containing records on the JFK assassination and also information on the MK Ultra program that they had back in the 50s and 60s, as well as information on the Cold War program where they conducted human experiments in secret, and sometimes they claimed they were non-consensual. Now, mind you, this is all alleged. But now it seems that Fox News has taken down that segment. They deleted the clip. And so supposedly they were told that the information was not true and that her office was not, in fact, raided. Okay, now they say that a lawmaker who chairs the House Oversight Task Force on the declassification of federal secrets told News Nation that she had reached out to the White House and the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, about the alleged incident. They say the CIA does not have jurisdiction to work against an executive order by the president. And so the fact that someone did this when the president is out of the country, and from what I gather, I believe Director Ratcliffe is with him. And so this seems like it was an internal coup, to be honest. And so this is what Luna supposedly said, Anna Paulina Luna. So that's what she said. Now, mind you, it is interesting because Trump and many of his administration officials are absolutely out of the country in China. So this will be a very interesting time for this raid to have been conducted. But like I said, they're trying to deny it. So please pay attention. Now, what I also find interesting is that there's conflicting reports, but also the clip was deleted after the National Intelligence spokesperson, Olivia Coleman, said the report was false, but she said this on a social media post. So it's not like she literally got in touch with Fox News and told them to delete it, but she simply posted this on social media. That seems a bit strange because if this was not true and something so serious happened or, such misinformation got put out there, I would think that she would have called them and verbally spoken to them and told them to take it down or whatever, not just simply make a social media post. Okay, so that's just all strange. Then they said that on Wednesday, Katie Povlich basically said that she was notified that CIA agents went in and took documents as well. She said the files were related to the assassination of John F. Kennedy and the CIA's behavioral modification program. So then later in a social media post responding to the interview clip, Luna issued a clarification. She basically said, clarification, took documents that ODNI has jurisdiction over. Also, this did not happen today and was not a raid. However, it did take place and we are just being made aware of it based on reporting, etc., she wrote. So she said it wasn't a raid, but it did take place. So did they just walk in there and take the documents, but they didn't burst in? I'm not really getting exactly what she's saying. It seems like they're trying to downplay this whole thing, but I think something nefarious is afoot. Okay, please pay attention and stay tuned for more updates. Okay, that is just all very strange to me. Now, here's the thing. I think that the raid did take place, and I think, excuse me, that they purposely did it while Trump was out of the country because here's the thing. Trump recently said that he was going to, in fact, declassify the JFK and the MK Ultra documents, the files. He was supposed to declassify these things. And what's interesting is this. If you remember, I told you that a former CIA agent by the name of John Kiriakou said that Trump would never release the JFK files because that would implicate is not real as having had something to do with it. Now, that's what he alleges. But what's interesting is now all of a sudden that he said he's going to declassify them, they come up taken while he's out of the country. Now, they're saying this didn't happen. But I believe it absolutely did happen, and they're trying to deny it because think about it. If it's a coup, they don't want anyone to know about this. Okay. And then why would the lady post about it on a social media post instead of getting in touch with Fox News and letting them know that this was misinformation if that were the case? So it definitely sounds suspicious. You know what I think? My spirit is telling me that Satan Yahoo is behind this because once Trump said he was going to declassify these documents, and then Satan Yahoo may not have wanted them to be put out there because, like I said, John Kiriakou says that it's not real, would be implicated. So I think that might be why these things were taken, if in fact they were. I'm just saying, you never know what's going on with this nefarious administration, and especially when Satan Yahoo's involved. And speaking of Satan Yahoo, let's talk about it because he recently confirmed that he in fact did meet. Hold on, let me find the receipts. He confirmed that he did meet with the UAE. Okay, here we go. Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please, please, please don't forget to like and share. Thank you. Okay, it doesn't cost you a thing. Okay, here we go. That's right, Greta. Greta says all dirt will be exposed soon. Absolutely.
That's breaking news from Israel. The office of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the prime minister went on a secret visit to the United Arab Emirates and met with the president of the UAE. They say the top secret trip resulted in a historic breakthrough in relations between the two countries and arguably the two forces, right? CBS News Middle East contributor Courtney Keeley is live watching this historic move. What does this mean for the war with Iran, and what security measures would even have to go into having this trip be secret and not known to the world until just now?
Well, secret maybe because it's so dangerous right now to be traveling, especially for an Israeli prime minister to a country that is under attacks from Iran. I mean, Iran was launching drone attacks on the UAE last week intensely around May 6th and 7th. They have been in their scope. Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did do this trip publicly, but that was before October 7th, when they were really working on getting the Gulf countries on board for the Arab Accords. And October 7th really changed everything. And now he went secretly during wartime. The English translation of the name is Harry's Roar, but I looked it up, but it's more like the roar of the lion or the lion's roar, which this operation of Israel is calling these operations in Iran. Now, David Barnea, the Mossad chief, did make a couple of trips beforehand, probably to make sure it was okay before the prime minister went. But this news really shows the alliance between Israel and a Gulf country, and maybe the resurgence of the Abraham Accord in some way, especially since rather than dealing with the Palestinian-Israeli issue, right now they're dealing with the Iranian issue, and the UAE and the Prime Minister of Israel making this meeting is significant. Even though it was covert, it's an overt hand of friendship. And the Iranians have seen the UAE as being pro-Israel and pro-American. This only sharpens that lens into focus that they are.
Yeah, I have so many questions, and I know will be weeks, months, maybe even years until we get them answered.
Okay, I find that all interesting. Now, let's go to this clip where they say Iran issued a warning to the UAE.
And now the news, the United Arab Emirates has denied reports that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu secretly visited the country and held talks with its president. The denial comes after Netanyahu's office claimed the Israeli leader traveled to the UAE at the height of the war with Iran. Now, adding to the intrigue, Iran says it already knew about the alleged visit. Netanyahu's office said on Wednesday that he made a secret trip to the UAE during the conflict, where he met President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. It described the meeting as a historic breakthrough in ties between the two countries. Now, the announcement came just a day after U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, revealed that Israel had deployed Iron Dome air defense systems along with personnel to operate them. to the UAE during the war with Iran. Now, the UAE pushed back within hours. In a strong statement, the foreign ministry said the United Arab Emirates denies reports circulating regarding an alleged visit by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the UAE or the presence of any Israeli military delegation in the country. Well, according to a source familiar with the matter, Netanyahu and Sheikh Mohammed met in Al Ain, an oasis city near the Oman border, on March 26th. The source also claimed Mossad chief David Barnier made at least 2 visits to the UAE during the conflict. Well, Iran, for its part, claims that it was already aware of the visit.
Why is she repeating the same thing over again? Now, I find it interesting because these are absolutely 2 conflicting reports. Because Yahoo confirms that he absolutely did go there and that they had good talks, supposedly. But now the UAE is denying all of this. And I think that he absolutely went, and they're denying it because they don't want Iran to know. Okay, but clearly Iran already knows. Okay. Now, with that all being said, let's talk more about Tulsi Gabbard, because there's a report that says Tulsi Gabbard's office denies Florida lawmakers' claim of CIA raid seizing JFK MK Ultra documents. So they say Representative Anna Paulina Luna posted a claim that the CIA raided Tulsi Gabbard's office, taking various files related to the assassination of JFK Jr. JFK and Project MK Ultra. Now, a spokesperson for the Director of National Intelligence disputed the report that the CIA raided the office of the Director of National Intelligence. In a preservation letter, Luna referenced the testimony that a CIA employee gave before the U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, saying that the CIA took back 40 boxes of JFK files and MK Ultra files before being processed for declassification. So listen. Now, I want you to pay attention, because they're saying on the one hand that the office pushed back and said that this raid didn't happen, but then you have Anna Paulina Luna saying that this did happen, that they did come in there and take the boxes, but however, it wasn't a raid. Okay, that absolutely sounds like a raid to me, but nonetheless, I definitely think they took those darn boxes. Okay, and so anyway, it goes on to say, and it was 40 boxes. That's a lot. Now, goes on to say that Representative Anna Paulina Luna claimed the CIA raided the office of Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, seizing various boxes and all of that information. Now, goes on to say that on Wednesday, Representative Luna alluded to the raid on X, posting a subpoena for the documents that she referenced to be taken. Now, the letter addressed to CIA Director John Ratcliffe, requesting the preservation of records related to the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Project Ultra. Mind you, they say that when Trump went to China, he took about 30 people with him, 17 were CEOs, but they say that CIA Director John Ratcliffe supposedly went with him. So think about it. If Trump is out of the country, and so is the director of the CIA, if they wanted to go in there and steal documents and evidence or whatever, that would be the opportune time for them to do it, because they're calling this a coup. Okay, so I think it absolutely happened. And like I said, if anyone is conducting a coup, they're going to do it in secret. So they're not going to admit to it. Okay, but let's continue. So then goes on to say, what they're saying. They say, we're sending a preservation notice. Docs need to be returned to ODNI, given that ODNI was given direction and authority by the president to declassify RFK, MLK, and JFK. This is what she said in a post regarding MK Ultra. These were documents specifically requested by my task force and currently being used for our investigation. First of all, don't you all think it's very interesting how all of this information that should be spoken about in private, in my opinion, is being posted on social media? Well, what kind of administration does this? Like, this is the first time in my life that I ever remember, all of this type of information just being all over social media. Like, that just sounds crazy to me. But anyway, here is the post right here, along with the subpoenas. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Like, why would she post this? I just have questions. Okay, as you can see, and she says this is the stuff that was basically that she wanted. She was supposed to have this stuff declassified. She had the authority from Trump. Okay, and this is Congress of the United States, House of Representatives, Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. This is from the Honorable John L. Radcliffe, or this is addressed to him, Director of Central Intelligence Agency, and this is dated May the 13th of 2022. And so what it says is the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is requesting you preserve all existing and future records and materials related to the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Project MK Ultra or MK Ultra. It's written and spelled different ways. Okay, the variations. The committee understands, based on testimony today before the United States Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, that the CIA took back 40 boxes of JFK files and MK Ultra files being processed for declassification by DNI Gabbard, and that's Director of National Intelligence. Okay, the committee requests you preserve all existing and future records and materials related to these boxes, documents, or aforementioned subjects. Now, the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is the principal oversight committee of the U.S. House of Representatives and has broad authority to investigate any matter at any time under the House Rule X, or maybe that's supposed to be a Roman numeral. I'm not sure. It looks like X squared. Now, further pursuant to House Rule, okay, yeah, so that is a Roman numeral. Okay, so House Rule 11, okay, Clause 2K6. Now, the chair shall receive, the committee shall dispose of requests to subpoena additional witnesses. Additionally, House Rule 11, Clause 2M and 1B grants Committee of the House of Representatives the authority to require, by subpoena or otherwise, the attendance and testimony of such witnesses and the production of such books, records, correspondence, memoranda, papers, and documents as it considers necessary. If you have any questions regarding the subpoena, please contact Committee on Oversight and Government Reform Majority Staff, and then leaves the number. So again, like I said, why is this posted on social media? Okay, and there's the signature. Y'all don't find this all very strange? Shoshana says, I'm noticing every day the news cycles is bombarding us with all this stuff to deflect from the files. Right, the Epstein files, clearly. Okay, I think that's why we're in a whole war, just to avoid the talks on that. But so this is just all very interesting. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I intend to get to the bottom of it, okay? Now, it goes on to say, when Congress is notified of conflicting narratives from different agencies, i.e. the CIA and the ODNI, it is our job to follow through to ensure documents are preserved and not destroyed. Now, this is not an issue with Radcliffe or Gabbard. She went on to say that for people to act like the CIA doesn't have a history of destroying documents is a bizarro world. Okay, so they've been doing this, basically is what she's saying, that they destroy documents. Okay, so she says, watch the clip for yourself. So yeah, I think that's absolutely why they took them. But I think Satan Yahoo told them to do it. I really do. I think that some of his people are within the Central Intelligence Agency. And I think once he got wind of Trump supposedly declassifying this stuff, he sent them in to remove it, just to snatch it all up. Now, like I said, that's my opinion. I could be wrong, but then again, I could be right. Please pay attention. And so anyway, it goes on to say, hold on here. Oh, actually, I have two different tabs open, beloveds, and I was reading from two different articles by mistake. Okay, so we'll get to the next article in a second. But in the preservation letter, Luna referenced the testimony of a CIA employee that they gave before the United States Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, who testifies that the CIA, in fact, did take 40 boxes of those files. Now, a spokesperson for the CIA responded to the post saying the committee acted in bad faith by subpoenaing an agency officer for testimony today without notifying the CIA, despite having obtained closed-door testimony from the individual previously. Okay, the witness testifying today is not appearing as a whistleblower in pursuit of the truth, but instead in response to the subpoena issued by Chairman Paul. Now, upon taking office, President Trump directed the National Intelligence Director, who is Tulsi Gabbard, and the Attorney General to work together to release records related to the assassination of John F. Kennedy. In March of last year, over 63,000 pages regarding the Kennedy assassination was released. The president's order also sought to declassify the remaining federal records related to the assassinations of Senator Robert F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Ooh, honey, this all sounds like intrigue, and this sounds like a movie, okay, that I definitely want to see. Now, it goes on to say, this other article is the one where they were talking about Congress has to be notified of conflicting stories or narratives or whatever, and then basically saying that for people to act like the CIA doesn't have a history of destroying documents is bizarro world, a bizarro world. Okay, so I guess that's a spin off of the word bizarre. Okay, so anyway, she goes on to say, watch the clip for yourself. I am talking about what the whistleblower is saying under oath. Okay, the Hill reached out to Luna's office for comment. Now, the lawmaker who chairs the House Oversight Task Force on the declassification of federal secrets said late last month that the task force would hold a hearing on MK Ultra files. MK Ultra was a program headed by the CIA that began in 1953 with the intentions to study behavioral modification, according to University of Louisville records. Now, it's been the subject of conspiracy theories and became a renewed topic in the news after the Daily Mail published an article noting that a new report on the intelligence service studying mind control was added to the CIA reading room last year. So anyway, what do you all think? I find this all very interesting. Okay, I just want to know what's really going on. Whistleblowers aren't even protected sharing information. Right. Now, let me see if I can find that clip that she said, where she says the whistleblower hold on, testified before the House Oversight Committee. Here it is right here. Let me see. No, that's not it. Hold on, beloveds. CIA whistleblower testifies to a COVID cover-up. Do y'all hear this? This is from yesterday. And you know what's interesting about this is because we're going to get into this. We got to talk about it because also I have an audio of Dr. Fauci, aka Dr. Fauci, where he was caught on tape. And wait till you hear what he was saying. Hold on, let me just pull this up. Here it is right here. Let me see. Is this what I'm looking for? Hold on, beloveds. Okay, we're going to get into it. Hold on. I'm looking for this particular. Here it is right here. Okay, so a whistleblower obviously leaked the audio. Fauci caught on tape. Now listen to what he says, to how they got people to get that venom. Ooh, honey, I'm so glad I didn't. I am so glad I didn't because I also have an audio that I can't even play on here because ScrewTube would take it down. But y'all need to listen. I'm going to post it on my X and probably on Instagram. But it is so nefarious when you hear what they were up to.
I have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated. Yeah. Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and
Thank
that's
you.
not what I was referring to.
Well, that's exactly what you meant when you said making it hard for people to live without getting a vaccination. You affected people's ability to work, travel, be educated, to actually flourish in American society, to self-determine, as we're all given God-given rights. Shame on you.
He's a real piece of you know what. And here's the thing. At the end of the day, when they were trying to tell people you can't go to work, you can't do all of this or whatever, I knew they were pressuring people into doing it. We all knew that. Trying to force people into compliance. Okay, that's exactly what they were doing, trying to take away your free will, because it should have been up to each individual as to whether or not they wanted to get that thing. For them to sit there and fire people or tell them you can't come to work until you get it, you can't enroll in college until you get it, that's just low down and nefarious. And let's not forget Dr. Fauci's ties to HIV, him and Dr. Robert Gallo. Okay, please, Judy, what was her last name? Judy Makovitz. I think that's the lady that exposed it. Okay, so anyway, let's go to the clip where they have the whistleblower talking. Now, I'm going to go to this 11-minute clip because basically this thing is like over an hour long, and we're not going to watch all of it. I do want to hear what they had to say. Dr. Fauci is nothing more than a liar who lies. Okay, hold on. There's 2 clips I have. Let's go to this first one where they talk about his gain of function BS that he was into. And remember how he lied about that? I'm going to fast forward.
Anthony Fauci's role in the cover-up. You also have some news coming out of the CIA that you'd like to share.
Yeah, so we were actually just notified that the CIA went in and took documents out of ODNI, multiple boxes pertaining to the JFK files as well as MKUltra. The reason why this is troubling is there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MKUltra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed. And so very troubling. I did just talk to Chairman Comer, and we are sending in the next hour or so a preservation of documents request to the CIA. I have calls into the White House to the director of the CIA himself. And so obviously, as this develops, we'll keep everyone up to date. But strange times we're living in, that's for sure.
Does the CIA have jurisdiction to go into Gabbard's office like that and take documentation?
Well, the CIA does not have jurisdiction to work against an executive order by the president. And so the fact that someone did this when the president is out of country, from what I gather, I believe that Director Radcliffe is with him. And so this seems like it was an internal coup, to be honest.
Okay, well, we will certainly be watching that. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, you all heard that? An internal coup. So with that all been said, they're not going to admit to it. That's why they're trying to say it didn't happen. Okay, but they're up to something, and Satan Yahoo, I believe, is 100% behind it. But let's continue.
Also today, we saw testimony from a CIA whistleblower. Let's listen to what he had to say and get your response.
Public health policy would have been very different had the American public been made aware that a virus from a lab in China was going to serve as the foundation for an emergency use authorization mRNA products being mandated by the former administration.
So, Congresswoman, I'm grateful for the transparency. It's very difficult to come out as a whistleblower because you face consequences, retaliation, which we'll get to in just a second. But we've known for many years that Dr. Fauci indeed covered up the pandemic for obvious reasons. He was funding gain-of-function research illegally at the Wuhan lab. It got out of control. They Frankensteined a virus, and it ended up killing millions of people and shutting down the world and damaging future generations in terms of education. The consequences are very far-reaching. There's no new news on the front that Fauci covered this up, but he can't really face that many consequences because Joe Biden gave him a pardon.
I think what Dr. Fauci did was on the level of human rights abuses and violations, and there is still a question on whether or not Joe Biden physically signed that pardon. We know that on our investigations on House oversight, many of the pardons are exact or identical matches with signatures, meaning that it's not possible unless it's done by something called AutoPen. I think that that's something that Todd Blanche needs to bring charges on. He is the acting attorney general now, and that's something that he can do, or at least look at these pardons as null and void if they were not exactly signed by the president. To my knowledge, one of the few that are legitimate are the ones on Hunter Biden, but the other ones are called to question as whether or not they were actually authorized by the president himself.
Okay, I hope and pray that it wasn't authorized by the president himself so that Fauci can go exactly where he needs to go, and that is to prison for crimes against humanity. Do you all hear this? Now they're talking about a whole darn cover-up. Okay, but then ScrewTube shadow banned me because I told you I predicted this before it ever even happened, 2 weeks before the virus even came out. And now, did you hear what she called it? She called it a Frankenstein virus. What does that even mean? Is she telling us that they created it? Because that's what it sounds like. Okay, that's what it sounds like. Please pay attention. Honey, and you know what's really interesting is that right in the midst of this whole hantavirus thing that's going on, and they're talking about getting a venom created for that, and now they're coming out with this. Do you think people are going to want to do anything as it pertains to getting venom? Okay, please pay attention. This is all crazy.
And so I think as we move forward and as this continues to come out, the American people know what happened, even people that not necessarily are conservative or Republican, see what happened with COVID-19. And it's a lesson that we can all learn from. But there are very real human rights abuses that Dr. Fauci committed, and he should be held accountable. He should be in jail.
And it's a shame that Democrats refuse to show up to this hearing today to get to the bottom of what exactly happened, to hold people accountable for exactly the reasons you just laid out. But Erdman, who's a whistleblower, spoke today about retaliation within the CIA. This is what he said.
The analysts that supported the 2023 lab leak conclusion took every administrative measure available to them to address their deep concerns regarding the analytic integrity of their finished intelligence. CIA managers retaliated against them.
And we also know that bribes were offered from Fauci to scientists to change their opinions as well. But based on what you told me at the beginning of this conversation with the CIA and this testimony from the whistleblower today, it seems there's a major problem going on inside the agency with politicizing intelligence and making these decisions for political purposes rather than just following the intelligence and the facts where they may lead.
Oh, most certainly. Exactly what you just laid out is also known as the deep state. And there's a flush that needs to occur at the agency. I like Director Radcliffe. He's a great man. He's been doing a great job, but he is one man, and there needs to be massive instrumental changes and shakeups at the agency. I think the deputy director of the CIA needs to be backing Radcliffe up on those changes. But what I will tell you today, and just hearing what I heard about the overt efforts to undermine the president's executive order, specifically pertaining to JFK, or I don't know, Congress's order to release and request the MLK or the MK Ultra files, all of that should tell you everything you need to know about the agency, and that it still operates, so it seems, out of the purview and jurisdiction of the executive branch, of the congressional branch, and that is unacceptable, of the legislative branch, excuse me, and it's unacceptable. And so, as you saw, Comer is working on that subpoena with me. We will send it in the morning if we don't hear back from the CIA. But either which way, we will find out who went into Tulsi's office and took those files. If this person, and this is not a threat, this is going to happen. If those files are not returned within the next 24 hours, you will be called, your faces will be made public in front of the entire American people. All of Congress will see it, and we will hold you accountable for going against a direct executive order by the president and interfering with a congressional investigation. So return the files, do not destroy documents. You will get a preservation of documents notice for Congress, and any member of the CIA that engages in undermining this investigation will be held criminally accountable. And I'm also waiting for a call back from Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general. We are not playing games with you. Return the documents.
All right. Well, Congress.
You all heard that? So you all heard that, right? So here's the thing. She is obviously sure that they, in fact, did raid the office and take those documents. She knows that they have them. So they're sitting there saying that they didn't do it and it's not true. That's all obviously a load of BS, okay? And I do think that, like I said, Satan Yahoo sent them in there to do this. They probably had this plan for days, knowing that Trump was going to China and taking John Ratcliffe with him. Oh, this is also intriguing. Like, I can't wait to find out what's really going down. But hold on, because now that we find out about Fauci and this alleged cover-up. Oh, and let me say one more thing about the documents. Here's the thing. We were not supposed to find out about this. Nobody was supposed to know. It just so happens that a whistleblower was on Fox News, and during a discussion segment, supposedly they said something about it. Okay, I don't know if this person was a whistleblower, but they were someone who was a guest on Fox News, and they brought this all up. So I find it all interesting. But hold on, because now that they're talking about the pandemic and the cover up, let's talk about this antivirus, because this guy comes out with this video and some very interesting receipts, mind you. Okay, let's get into it. Remember, you heard it here first.
The antivirus was weird. It's about to get even weirder. Not only did they decide to send the sick people all around the world on airplanes, the internet is going crazy again because another predicted Twitter post. This account, Soothsayer, posted on June 10th, 2022, Corona ends in 2023, 2026, hantavirus. He hasn't posted since 2022 and only had 3 other tweets. The best part, his bio reads the future. So with Hanta and all of this, I'm not an expert. I just like connecting things to the stock market because I follow the money, just like I did in 2020, 3 months before the lockdown. I don't think we're at that level yet, but if this news cycle continues, there is another play emerging that isn't a biotech stock since there's no direct exposure there. To some of you, this might be weird, thinking about profit when it comes to serious things, but like I even said in 2020, people have been doing this since the 90s, sadly. Even these plays I'm sharing with you today, every time there was a health freak out, they would move, and when everybody would calm down, they would go down heavy. They are the PPE protection wear stocks, APT and Lake. APT already went up over 37% today. Lake went up 12%. And I was talking about them at 7:40 a.m. this morning. That means you are not getting the best price. It just depends on what happens. I hope you're paying attention.
Okay, that is absolutely crazy. All right, how did that guy know that years ago? But now let's go to this clip of the whistleblower testifying. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you.
Career CIA operations officer. And as you mentioned, I was on joint duty assignment at the Office of Director National Intelligence, Directors Initiatives Group, or the DIG, between March 2025 and April 2026. I was responsible for
Greta says all for money. No, I don't think it's for money. I think it's to get rid of people, okay, as in depopulation. That's my opinion, but let's continue, beloved.
leading the DIG's investigation into COVID origins, anomalous health incidents, and unidentified anomalous phenomena. I'm here today to discuss the COVID cover-up, the national security implications associated with the DIG's investigative findings, and CIA refusal to comply with lawful oversight, as well as how we remedy these problems. Intelligence community leaders and senior analysts downplayed the possibility that the COVID pandemic originated as a result of a lab incident. Motives are difficult to define given the scope of the DIG's review. Intentional or not, the IC's actions resulted in a cover-up, wasted resources, and a failure to properly inform policymakers. Public health policy would have been very different had the American public been made aware that a virus from a lab in China was going to serve as the foundation for an emergency use authorization mRNA products being mandated by the former administration. Dr. Fauci's role in the cover-up was intentional. Dr. Fauci influenced the analytical process and findings by leveraging his position to ensure the IC consulted with a conflicted list of curated subject matter experts, public health officials, and scientists. This included some of the authors of the paper, The Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2, and other public health experts who have been in his orbit for the last 20 plus years. Some of the scientists were part of the Biological Sciences Experts Group, or the BSEG, an office of Director National Intelligence Advisory Body, whose members often receive considerable funding from NIAID and public health agencies. The BSEG scientists influenced national laboratory, WMD research, policy decisions, finished analysis, and other intelligence matters, creating misaligned incentives and conflicts of interest, as well as counterintelligence issues. Since 2006, the BSEG consulted part-time on biodefense issues for the IC, while conducting government-funded research and holding academia positions, as well as maintaining roles in public health institutions and serving as members in the National Academy of Science. They receive funding from NIAID and other agencies for vaccine research, USAID's PREDICT project, the Cooperative Threat Reduction Program, and even worked with Chinese scientists on coronavirus and other pathogen studies pursuing vaccines. There was no oversight monitoring how this web of relationships influenced research, policy, and public health in any holistic way for over 20 years. In fact, several of the BSEG scientists helped Dr. Fauci rewrite definitions of gain of function in 2015 to lift a funding pause on dangerous research. Still others participated in planning Event 201 in 2019. This was a coronavirus pandemic tabletop exercise, curiously similar to the events that played out during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was attended by Dr. Fauci and individuals with IC ties like former DNI Avril Haines. The CIA and DNI analytic managers responsible for examining the origin of COVID made decisions inconsistent with the conclusions of subject matter experts and analytical tradecraft, consistently favoring the theory of zoonosis or natural origin. Following the CIA's COVID relook that culminated in 2023, the CIA retaliated against analysts supporting the lab leak hypothesis.
Okay, listen, beloveds, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop it right there. Now, he says that the CIA retaliated on these people. This is all such a shame. I feel bad for anybody that took it, honey, because I know I didn't. Now, with that all being said, but I did warn people. Now, let's go to this thing about them bombing these 22 schools, because I was very interested in this. We all know that they bombed that girls' school, but now they're alleging that the U.S. bombed 22 schools and even hospitals, supposedly. And so they're asking, they have a hearing where they're questioning the general. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go. Senator Tammy Duckworth grills U.S. generals over Trump's Iran war strategy at fiery hearing. All right, let's get into it.
Look at the process to see exactly how it works.
Thank you, Admiral.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Admiral Cooper, the Senate received a letter from President Trump on Friday, May 1st, stating that hostilities with Iran have ended. And
hold on, let me stop you right there, DJ D Major Scaling. You said, I don't think Fauci is a villain. I think he was used. Honey, he wasn't used. He is the villain. Did you not hear me just say, and you can look this up for yourself, that he had everything to do with HIV in the 80s, him and Dr. Robert Gallo? What do you mean he's not a villain? He took the scientist, Dr. Judy Mikovits, and put her in prison and stole her work. Okay, to have this whole HIV thing going down, honey, he's absolutely a villain. Okay, no, the villains are not just in the White House. Some of them work outside the White House. And Dr. Fauci has been doing this before the Trump administration, mind you. This man has worked with at least 4 to 5 administrations, okay? So he's not new to the game. He's true to the game, okay? If he's anything, he's definitely a villain. Please don't give him any slack. Okay, please, you need to wake up, okay? Use discernment. This man is nefarious, period.
You just stated here that we are no longer operating under Operation Urgent Fury. Would you say that we are still engaged in hostilities with Iran, or have they ended?
Consistent with the president's letter, those Epic Fury is complete. We are operating under international armed conflict rules in the implementation of the blockade.
So are we engaged in hostilities with Iran, yes or no?
We are not. We're in a ceasefire.
The Strait of Hormuz remains blocked, right? You're engaged in a blockade, are you not?
The blockade is against Iranian ports, commerce going in and coming out. It is the last thing we would want to do is blockade the Strait of Hormuz. And as we've seen in the last week, there have been instances of ships coming in and out, including our own.
But under international law, a blockade is an act of war. So if you're actively blockading Iran, then you are engaged in we are currently in an act of war with Iran under international law. That a blockade is one of the definitions of an act of war under international law.
Consistent with the direction we've been given, those characterizations are best done through the department's legal counsel.
It's not characterization, it's international law. It's listed. A blockade is an act of war. We've now engaged in the United States, and the United States and Iranian forces are trading fire as they continue to launch missiles, drones, small boat stacks. President Trump himself says the ceasefire is on life support, and he repeatedly threatens to renew U.S. military strikes. And to be clear, no one is disputing the valor and professionalism of our military, but the civilian leaders are abdicating their responsibility to craft a clear strategy, and service members and the American people are the ones who will suffer under this leadership vacuum. Admiral Cooper, before Operation Epic Fury began, what desired end state for the operation were you given by your civilian leadership?
Senator, I was given crystal clear guidance. Our military mission was to degrade Iran's ability to project power on its neighbors and U.S. interests. It included 3 specific objectives: degrade Iranian ballistic missiles and their defense industrial base, degrade their drones in the defense industrial base, degrade their Navy in the defense industrial base. All of those were achieved, as I've discussed.
And because they were achieved, that's why the operation ended, or did the operation end because the president said, let's end operation?
Operations commencing and ending are made by our civilian leadership, and not a military decision.
Okay, well, that civilian leadership, President Trump has provided many possible end states in only 2 months, including in just 2 months, he said unconditional surrender and regime change in Iran, which have not happened. He's talked about, operations will end when there's destruction of Iranian nuclear sites, allegedly already accomplished last summer under Operation Midnight Hammer. He has also said that Iran will never have nuclear weapons, which cannot be accomplished with only a bombing campaign. He said that his goal is to destroy the Iranian military forces and infrastructure completely, which the intelligence community assesses has not happened. And now, he said that it's a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which, as a reminder, was open before the war began. So if we don't know what we're fighting for, we certainly don't know how long we'll be fighting. Admiral Cooper, what have you been given? Have you been given any timeline for how long our forces will be in the Strait of Hormuz or near Iran or blockading Iran, whether by a timeline or a condition, an end state, for how long you'll be blockading Iran?
Senator, I think it's important from a military perspective that my advice related to options be provided to both the Secretary and the President. We've done that. The decisions on timeline and execution are up to our civilian leadership.
Okay. So you mentioned the Secretary of Defense, who only talks tactics, and a president who changes his strategy on social media multiple times a day. This is who's giving you the orders. Secretary Hegseth has touted the destruction of tens of thousands of targets across Iran. He said that Iran's air defenses are flattened, his words, and its industrial base overwhelmingly destroyed, and claims that Iran's Navy is at the bottom of the sea. Every metric that the Secretary offers is one of destruction, and destruction alone is not an end state, especially not with new public reporting that U.S. intelligence officials believe Iran has operational access to most of its missile capacity, and that Iran is clearly still capable of controlling the Strait of Hormuz. Americans are not safer. Our service members are at risk. Prices at home are higher, and Iran has more control over the Strait and global economy than it did before this whole thing started. The American people, our service members, deserve clear answers. What does done with the war look like, and how do we get there? We have no strategy. As we saw in Afghanistan, if you don't have a sound strategy, you keep doing tactics forever. This is not your fault, but this is where we are. And Admiral Cooper, have you been asked for your advice? And under what conditions would you advise deploying ground troops for any purpose in Iran?
Senator, I think it would be inappropriate to talk about any contingency planning in this particular forum. It's my obligation as a combatant commander to provide a broad range of options through the Secretary and to the President.
Can you answer that question for me in the skiff at a later time?
I'd be more than happy to talk about anything classified.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kelly.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, I didn't mark off Senator Peters.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here. And I speak for myself, and I think everybody on this panel. We appreciate the incredible professionalism of the men and women in uniform and the job that they do every day with professionalism and heroism. And thank you for doing that. But we do have a number of questions about how we win this war and end it.
Well, he might be able to tell them how to end the war, but definitely they're not going to win it from the looks of it. Okay, now with that all being said, listen, D Major, I'm going to do you a favor, beloved. Since you think Fauci's not the supervillain that he clearly is, I'm going to go to this clip of Dr. Judy Mikovits. Okay, I just found this on ScrewTube just for you. Okay, we're going to listen to a few minutes of this. This is from like 5 months ago.
For the first time, I realized that, Mickey had that brother that died of, I don't know if it was AZT or HIV, and that it was AZT. And so I didn't know that's kind of why you initially were talking. And then he said, oh, and then Fauci came up again. He was like, oh, I've heard this name before. And so I forgot how deep this goes. I forgot how long you've known each other. And I think everyone constantly forgets, Judy, how far back it goes, And, Dr. David Martin was recently in the EU Parliament here and basically saying, guys, I was telling you this 10 years ago when I was here, and I can track it all the way back into the 50s, 60s when this kind of all started. And it's just, even someone like me that has been privileged enough to speak with incredible people like you, for the last few years, even I don't realize sometimes how far back it goes because you get caught up in the facts and then the current pieces and you forget this is a systematic issue. Is that right?
Absolutely. And in fact, that's the key to the whole thing. I was 25 years old in 1983, and I didn't know Tony Fauci at all. I just knew he, Bob Gallo, and Bruce Chabner, called, on purpose when they knew Dr. Rossetti was away to try to get a kid to do what was unethical, illegal, and immoral, which was hand them confidential data that was paid for by the taxpayer, and let them turn it into a bioweapon, which is, exactly as we now know that they did. So Mickey's brother was killed by AZT. His mother, as you see, she was forced because she was in, I don't know whether it was welfare, a program that paid her. And because he was in a vulnerable population, Tony Fauci forced on the vulnerable as an experiment, the hepatitis B vaccine, an experiment.
Okay, so that was injected and transmitted into people thanks to Dr. Tony Fauci, allegedly. Okay, I believe every word that she says, honey. Dr. Fauci is a low-down, dirty devil who needs to be in prison. And the fact that Joe Biden supposedly pardoned him should let you know exactly that. Why would he have pardoned him if he didn't do anything nefarious? Okay, please pay attention. Y'all better wake up. Now, with that all being said, let's continue because I want to go to this clip where they talk about how Mind you, Trump is so low down and nefarious and such a pathological liar that he sits here and promotes America first, but he's not America first. It's not real first. And then he goes on to tell people to buy American, but he got all of his MAGA hats made in China. And then now we find out, pay attention, that this ballroom that he's spending all these billions of dollars on, mind you, taxpayer funds, in my opinion, say that he has purchased steel from foreign entities. Okay, meanwhile, trying to persuade other people to buy steel from America. Isn't that something? But let's get into it. That's right, Lillian X said Fauci made millions off of American lives. Of course he did.
Tonight, Donald Trump is urging federal agencies to buy American. No excuses, he says. But his actions on a high-profile project suggest a major contradiction. In a social media post, Trump accused Washington politicians of sending taxpayer dollars overseas and letting foreign countries rip America off. America first means buy American, he concluded. Not lost on many observers is that Trump, a self-proclaimed champion of U.S. steel, has secured tens of millions of dollars worth of donated foreign steel for his White House ballroom project, in arguably the most recognized building of the United States. Steel from a Luxembourg-based company will provide the structure for Trump's ballroom. Celebrating the various changes he made, Trump had some choice words for the House as he moved back into last year.
This place was not properly taken care of. I was told by my wife, you have to act presidential, so don't use foul language. I won't. Therefore, normally I would have said it was a shit house, but I don't want to say that. The columns were falling down. The plaster was falling off. This place is tippy-top now.
So just for starters, the president of the United States referring to the White House as a shit house.
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Trump referred to the White House as a shit house? Well, you know what? It's only that because he's there, okay, as far as I'm concerned. That is also hilarious, but let's continue.
Never heard that one before. But yeah, I mean, the broader issue is that Trump is being pretty hypocritical by using foreign steel on the White House when he's ordering federal agencies to do the opposite.
I wouldn't have said shithouse. I would have gone poo-poo house. But the point is, people either like him or don't in the way he's just visceral that way. But I think what's important is that house should be the shining emblem of the American dream. And so it should be great when foreign leaders come there. And so whatever that takes, it's a rounding error in terms of the cost of the brand, the American dream. So fix it. Somebody fix it, whether it's this administration or the next one or whatever it is, make sure it's El Supremo.
But take the foreign steel.
Right.
Yeah. Why not? It's free.
Can we play one game? Like, imagine Barack Hussein Obama called the White House a shit house, used foreign steel, ran the price up from $200 million of private dollars, raising money, to $1 billion appropriated from federal taxpayers.
But you like the free steel, though, right? From Luxembourg?
I don't like the free steel.
It's free. Free. It's still
I
steel.
mean, I come from steel country, and so
I actually don't like the free steel. I think that
it's
there are
just
people
like,
who
can't we just call it hypocritical?
Can
and
we
just
call
say,
it a
like,
grift?
Just
Like,
be like,
can
okay,
we
it
say
is what
he's
it
wrong?
is. Like,
Can you say he's wrong?
fine. If you want to use the steel, use it, but then don't say you're America first. Just like be honest about it. It's like so. It's so easy.
And I think also the broader thing is that
Can we just
Trump
say he's
himself has a long history of hypocrisy on him.
Yeah,
on
it's
buying
like,
American.
We don't have to debate this.
His products and his Trump
ties,
properties
I know.
are foreign made. The Trump phone that they advertised and took.
Look at that stupid look on Scott Bessent's face. Look at him. He's such an idiot. I cannot stand this man. Okay. I hope I meet him in person someday so I can tell him about himself. But look at the foolish look that he always has on his face, plastered on there when somebody goes in on Trump. Mind you, just a short time ago, he was going in on Trump too. Okay. But then when he realized he could make more money being on Trump's team, that's when he started bootlicking. Please pay attention.
Millions of dollars from his supporters for and haven't delivered will also be foreign made.
You ain't getting that phone.
So at what point does Trump get held to his own standard?
Buy American has two operative words. First being buy. He's not buying anything here. He's getting a donation, which I'll point out his pledge
So just to
at the
be
beginning
clear,
of this, that he would take
just to be
donations
clear,
so that it would be free to the taxpayers.
Just to be clear, rather than actually purchasing steel from American companies, which would support American businesses,
And the American
he's
economy.
taking a freebie from a foreign competitor, bringing it into the country and using it in the White House. And you're fine with
That's a great
Well,
question, Abby.
I did a little homework on this tonight, on this company. Number one, it is a foreign-owned company. Number two, it does own a steel production facility in Alabama outright. Number three, it does business with an iron mine in Minnesota. They do have hooks into the United States
but that's
market.
not what he told his federal
And-
agencies.
and on-
Buy American.
And on top
said that.
And on top of that, it's sort of the tariffs are the reason they're here actually. So it makes a larger point about his tariffs. But I did make a phone call.
Wait,
to,
sorry, say that again?
So part of the whole issue with tariffs is that it made it more attractive for foreign companies to actually invest in American production, which is what this company actually did. So that's number one.
Why can't we celebrate taxpayers didn't pay anything? You got free steel.
Number two, I do think inside the steel industry, based on my homework tonight, there are some raised eyebrows.
Now they're sitting there acting as though Trump needed to get steel for free with all of the billions that he has, not to mention all the billions he's grifted within his first year in office. Okay, please sit down somewhere, Scott Bessent. Okay, Ashkan says, welcome to the shithouse tour. Let's start in the West Wing. Okay, absolutely. Okay. Mr. Midnight says they probably got the steel wiretapped. You know what? That's how dumb Trump is. He doesn't ever think about, when you get things from foreign entities that they could absolutely be trying to bug you to find out stuff international secrets or whatever. He's so idiotic. He didn't even think about that when he took that plane from Qatar. Okay, remember me saying that when I reported on it? I'm like, how does he know that they haven't done something nefarious? But Trump is so stupid. All he cares about is himself, his money, and his billionaire cronies. Okay, please pay attention. It's all crazy, but let's continue.
But if you ask them, do you broadly support the president, his policies, et cetera, you get a resounding yes that his economic and tariff agenda has been overwhelmingly good for U.S. steel. So I don't think you're going to get a ton of grumbling.
So just to be clear, you do not think there is any hypocrisy at play here, that Trump would tell federal agencies in no uncertain terms, buy.
Nene said, it's Scott Jennings, Queen. Thank you, beloved, for correcting me. I don't know why I called him Scott Benson, but he gets on my nerves too, because Scott Benson always talks like he's nervous, like he's scared, like somebody's got a gun in his back. Okay, they both get on my nerves, but let's continue. Thank you.
Buy American, no exceptions, and then proceed to do the exact
He didn't
opposite.
buy anything. Okay. He got it for free.
Okay.
I mean,
so he rather than contracting with an American company,
That would be buying.
U.S. Steel.
That would be purchasing, which he told people he would take
He
donations.
is basically saying, we're not going to support the American business. We're going to just go ahead and give a free ad.
But then
to
he just asked, the problem with that, the fallacy in the argument is he just asked for $1 billion. I mean, I'm not making that up.
Well, the Secret Service.
Correct. It was an ask from the federal government, from his administration, for $1 billion. I would prefer, to Kevin's point, I would prefer to support American business than take something free from a foreign entity. That's just my philosophy. I am sorry for wanting to pour back into our businesses in the country. Maybe I'm more American first than Donald Trump.
But if he had done that, wouldn't you be saying, oh, I thought you said this was going to be free?
I'm still trying to figure out how they went from a couple hundred million to $1 billion.
Well, no, I mean, he said he was going to fund the whole thing with donations. So why can't he fund the steel with donations? I don't get. I mean, that's not hard to do.
This is, you guys. This is not a hill to die on. Just call it like, okay, maybe not the best optically. Not supporting American. There's some holes in his
If I were him, I would have bought it.
I would have bought it here. Like the American people are not stupid, and this won't pass the smell test with them. Now, let me finish.
Okay, Ashley's got the last word.
Now, overwhelmingly, maybe they will support his policies, but on this one,
steel executives and steel workers.
Do we want to party in the ballroom? I want to.
People
Next
already
for us,
are.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, no stranger to reality TV, has a new show now.
I'm going to stop it right there. That black lady with all of that long, beautiful hair, her hair is amazing. Okay, so anyway, this is all so nefarious. Now let's go to where they talk about Trump has a lot going on. I'm telling you all, this has to be his worst week ever. Literally. Okay. Now, let me just tell you all what's going on here, because I almost forgot to tell you all this. So Trump took all of these CEOs with him to China, hoping they could get deals or whatever in the tech industry. And then also took much of his administration with him as well. But here's the thing. He was completely embarrassed and humiliated, as I told you earlier, when Xi Jinping did not greet him after he got off the plane. Okay, then they tried to change the narrative in the media, tried to spin it and act like, oh, they had a parade and a festival and all this going on when he arrived. But the truth of the matter is they've been having parades and festivals going on during the month of May, and they'll continue to do so. And then, now here's what just came out. Security drama overshadowed parts of the Trump-Xi Jinping summit in Beijing after multiple members of the U.S. delegation were reportedly stopped by Chinese guards during tightly controlled events. Okay, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was briefly blocked from entering the Great Hall of the People over badge clearance issues, while another tense standoff erupted at Beijing's Temple of Heaven over reports that a U.S. Secret Service agent was carrying a firearm. So they're just out here embarrassing us all, y'all. They're out here making they're out here making the United States look ghetto. Now we know it's ghetto, but do we need the rest of the world to know that it's ghetto? I mean, at the end of the day, okay, so they're trying to get into the Temple of Heaven with a gun. Why would you take a gun in there? That's crazy. And then Scott Bessent, like I said, was blocked. And here's the thing. The reason I accidentally, now it's all making sense. The reason I accidentally called Scott Jennings Bessent is because I was literally reading this thing right here as you all were watching the video. So that's why I called him Scott Bessent. But anyway, goes on to say the dispute allegedly delayed the American delegation and media pool for nearly 30 minutes before both sides reached a compromise. Okay, they didn't want to let the people that Trump brought with him, they did not want to let them in for the meeting. Okay, because it was supposed to be controlled. All right. And then so they said they finally came to a compromise. Now, the incidents added unexpected friction to an already high stakes Trump Xi Jinping meeting dominated by Taiwan and security tensions. Okay. And then there's another headline that says Trump left disappointed by China over Iran. Isn't that all so sad? I told y'all Trump went all the way to China to beg like a damn dog. And the only thing he's going to come back with is that warning that China gave him. Okay. And speaking of which, let's go to the news report, because I told you all this morning that there was a warning issued. I told you I would show you all the video clip by Ben Masalis on the Midas Touch, but there's a whole report from CNN where they say China issues a stark new warning to Trump on Taiwan. Honey, Trump is going out bad.
President Trump and China's President Xi are attending a state banquet in Beijing after the first day of their bilateral talks. Now, a White House official described it as a good meeting and said the two discussed Iran, trade, and energy. But beyond the pomp and circumstance, tensions are growing over Taiwan. Chinese state media reporting that Xi warned Trump that Taiwan, the democratic self-governing island that Beijing views as part of its territory, is, quote, the most important issue in China-U.S. relations and could create a very dangerous situation if mishandled. Some observers viewing that as a threat. CNN's Will Ripley is live this morning in Taipei, Taiwan. It seems like this island, with China has threatened to take by force, is really emerging for China as a key issue here of the summit. Meanwhile, it's sort of the tale of two straits. Meanwhile, you've got the Strait of Hormuz also lingering there, with the president wanting China to help get that open.
Yeah, it's interesting, Sarah, because the officials here in Taipei were sort of expecting this kind of language from Xi Jinping. It didn't come as a surprise that it was the first thing that Chinese state media reported, this comment basically saying that if the U.S. and China mishandled the issue of Taiwan, it could lead to a military conflict. We've heard that sort of thing from Beijing repeatedly over the years. It is noteworthy, but not surprising, that that was the first line of information that.
Now, can y'all imagine? Listen, I want you all to really think about how Trump was bragging. He was so excited. He was clearly ecstatic, euphoric, if you will, bragging about how he was going to China. They were going to have a great meeting and how he and Xi Jinping are the best of friends and they get along greatly, and they have so for years. Lee to get there, not be greeted by him on the tarmac, but then to also have members of his own administration and CEOs that he brought with him denied access into the temple and then into a meeting, and then have someone bring a gun to the temple, and then thinking he's going to get them to help him get the Strait of Hormuz reopened, only for them to tell him no and threaten him, basically, that if you dare to step in with what we have going on with Taiwan, it's going to be military conflicts. Basically saying they're going to go to war. Do y'all hear this? He has to feel so low down and sad and pathetic and forlorn. Now, but also it says U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday failed to convince his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping to pressure Iran to allow the free passage of ships through the Persian Gulf. On the other hand, the Chinese president did warn the U.S. not to be meddling in their affairs with Taiwan if they know what's good for them. Did y'all hear it? This is the best news I've heard all week. How about y'all? How about y'all? This is so crazy. Okay, let's continue. Okay, Willie B. Israel said, look how shitty he looks in the pic. Okay, but he always looks like that, beloved. That's his resting face. Ooh, honey, this is all sad. Y'all, we are going out bad. I'm going to move to Costa Rica because this is not it. But let's continue.
They chose to leak to the Xinhua news agency. I want to read you a little bit more of the quote that was reported by Chinese state media from Xi Jinping. He said, quote, Taiwan independence and cross-strait peace are as irreconcilable as fire and water. Safeguarding peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait is the biggest common denominator between China and the U.S. And because they were expecting that kind of language here in Taipei, there was a response very quickly from the Taiwan cabinet spokesperson, Michelle Lee. I'll read you that as well, Sarah. It said, China's military threat is the sole source of insecurity in the Taiwan Strait and the broader Indo-Pacific region. Continuous enhancement of defense and effective joint deterrence are the
D. Major said, it's a sad state of affairs when American citizens are cheering on the downfall of their president. It absolutely is. And you know, that's funny you said that because I was literally just sitting here thinking about how, you know, it's a shame when you literally have American citizens rooting for the other team to win the war. Hey, isn't this all crazy? But hey, this is all thanks to Trump.
The most critical factors to ensuring regional security. The reason why they talked about enhancement of defense is because one big concern they have here in Taipei is that behind closed doors, Xi Jinping could ask President Trump to either delay or stall or flat out deny a $14 billion arms sales package that Taiwan's parliament has approved, but it has yet to be approved by President Trump in Washington. It's still in limbo. That would be a major setback for Taiwan if President Trump didn't approve that package quickly, because it would basically indicate that he's willing to negotiate Taiwan's security in exchange for some sort of grand bargain. That was, of course, the big concern that.
Yeah, he absolutely will do it. He absolutely will do it. Let me tell you something. If they don't think that Trump would absolutely sell them out, Taiwan, that is, to get what he wants, they better recognize, because that's exactly what he would do. Okay, but now let's get into this information about Small Change Patel, because you know what they said he's been out here doing with taxpayer dollars? They say that he went on a snorkeling adventure. Let's talk about it. While the war rages on, okay, he's out here snorkeling and living life like it's golden, no less. And they call it sacrilege. That's what they labeled it on MS Now, sacrilege. Small Change Patel goes VIP snorkeling on a trip at Pearl Harbor Memorial. Okay, let's get into it, because they also said that a whistleblower came out and alleged, or some people from the FBI came out and alleged that Small Change has also been padding the books about the arrests that he's been making. Honey, this is all about to get really real. Let's get into it. Okay, Shawshana said, did they have an underwater bar? Honey, they probably did, knowing that he was coming.
FBI Director Kash Patel is facing a fresh wave of scrutiny over a new excursion while on official FBI business when he was in Hawaii last summer. The Associated Press is now reporting that Patel took part in what the government what government officials described as a VIP snorkel around a Pearl Harbor memorial in an outing coordinated by the military. It was revealed in government emails obtained by the Associated Press and occurred in one of this country's most sacred memorial sites. The AP reports this with few exceptions, snorkeling and diving are off limits around the USS Arizona. The battleship, now a military cemetery reachable only by boat, has stood as one of the nation's most hallowed sites since Japan bombed and sank it in 1941. Marine archaeologists and crews from the National Park Service make occasional dives at the memorial to survey the conditions of the wreck. Other dives have been conducted, I should say, to enter the remains of Arizona survivors who wanted to rest eternally with their former shipmates. Now, the snorkeling session happened one day after Patel stopped in Washington to open the FBI's first standalone office in New Zealand. Patel's tenure leading the nation's top law enforcement agency has been littered with headlines about his use of taxpayer resources for travel. Like back in February, when Patel generated controversy for appearing to chug beer with the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team in Milan. Joining the conversation now, senior political analyst and contributing host on Pod Save America and host of the podcast Runaway Country, Alex Wagner is here, and Miles and General Hertling are still with us. General, let me start with you on this one. Talk to me about the significance of this site. Who manages this site? Who operates this site? I know you have personal experience with it, and how could something like this have happened?
Well, I was at one time in my career a member of the American Battle Monuments Commission, which has 26 cemeteries around the world outside the United States. There is a cemetery in Hawaii, in Honolulu, called the Honolulu American Cemetery. It is called the Punch Bowl in slang. It's in a volcano. The Arizona is different, though. That's run by the Park Service. And anyone that's been there knows that the sunken Arizona is still visible from the top of the water. And there is a platform over the top of it where visitors can go, lay wreaths, see and every once in a while, I mean, there's literal oil droplets that come up because it's still coming from the ship. But there are sailors interned in that ship. To have someone doing a snorkel trip around the Arizona would sort of be like running or having a 5K race through a cemetery. It's just ridiculous, and it's sacrilege. These places provide homage to those who gave their lives. And to me, this particular event that Mr. Patel went through just shows how much he's lost contact with reality and thinks that his position allows him to do these kind of things.
Yeah, deeply offensive and disrespectful. Alex, let me share some more of the Associated Press reporting. The former FBI directors have visited Pearl Harbor. They've done so on official business. None going back to at least 1993 has gone snorkeling at the memorial, according to those familiar with their activities, and a former government diver who spoke to AP on condition of anonymity for fear of retribution. The divers said it was unusual for a director or anyone not connected to the memorial to be granted such access because the swims come with physical risks and present security, safety, and logistical challenges. His tenure, of course, Alex, has been different and has been defined by stories like this, but this one even feels different than chugging beers with the U.S. Olympic hockey team.
Yeah, there's something about very important person snorkeling around a mass grave that does not.
Yeah, it's just all very, very weird. Like, why would he want to even be there? Okay, but hold on. Because they also say that he's been padding arrests. Okay, let's get into it. They say that he's been lying about the number of arrests that have been made in all of this. Let's go to the footage. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Also, a report just came out about Trump supposedly selling out the police. We got to get into all of this.
It's 4 o'clock in New York. It hasn't even been 24 hours, but Kash Patel's testimony on Capitol Hill yesterday is already raising major alarm bells over whether or not the director of the FBI was telling the truth to Congress, not just about the news accounts of his excessive drinking on the job, the administration of polygraph tests at the FBI, or of firing agents for political reasons, but also about the very statistics that he relied upon to defend his job amid all those embarrassing headlines. According to brand new exclusive reporting from our colleagues Carol Leonnig and Ken Delanian, when it comes to the arrests Kash Patel boasted about yesterday, quote, Patel's FBI has imposed new policies that inflate these numbers and overstate the FBI's progress in stemming crime. That is according to a half dozen law enforcement sources with knowledge of the changes. Kash Patel's lack of transparency is even causing some from inside the FBI to speak out, with one current official telling MS Now this, quote, they are absolutely padding the stats and claiming arrests they would not have claimed. And one former official adds this, quote, agents inside the Bureau complained frequently about Patel's bogus arrest numbers. Kash is definitely engineering things to pad his stats, the former official said. Here is what Kash Patel said yesterday before Congress.
We've arrested 8 of the top 10 most wanted fugitives in the world in 14 months. That's twice as many in the 4 years combined. That is what the men and women of the FBI are doing, well-resourced. Everyone should take a look at this. If people want to continue the baseless, fraudulent, false personal attacks at me, that's great. Keep the target on me, as I've always said, but the mission has never been better.
According to an MS Now review under Kash Patel's leadership, quote, the FBI has manipulated that iconic Bureau program.
Let me just tell you all something, beloveds. Always be careful when talking to or listening to someone who pauses between words. Okay? Because when people do that 9 times out of 10, they're doing that to put emphasis to, on what they're saying to make it seem more believable. Okay? The mission has never been better. Sit down somewhere. Okay? We know your arse is lying, but let's continue.
In a way that falsely suggests rapid progress. In that time, the Bureau has quickly added the names of some fugitives just hours or days before agents capture them. When reached for comment, the FBI disputed that arrests were being counted improperly without providing any specifics. Kash Patel being willing to inflate statistics about his agency's work to try to save his job is where we begin today with senior investigative reporter Carol Leonnig, whose byline is on that reporting. Also joining us, former assistant special agent in charge at the FBI, national security and intelligence analyst Michael Feinberg. Carol Leonnig, take us through what you're reporting.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole, for focusing on it. My colleague Ken Delaney and I had been working on this for a little while, and then we'd been hearing tips for some time that the statistics that Kash Patel sometimes mentioned, they said were juiced or inflated unfairly and intentionally. And while we were working on this, Kash Patel is brought before the Senate to answer questions. And instead of answering those blistering questions, he waves a black placard in the air and says, this is the proof that I'm really running this agency quite well. And this is the FBI under my leadership, and started to cite these same statistics that we have been hearing were bogus. We began sort of concretizing our work, re-corroborating, going back to sources. And the 2 big findings were these. One, that the FBI has begun counting arrests, particularly immigration agents' arrests, whenever FBI agents are present or simply, assisting. FBI agents, as you know, Nicole, were ordered in the summer and the fall of this past year to begin going out in huge waves of teams, joining immigration agents and local police to try to arrest, detain, and eventually deport immigrants from this country at the behest of Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. So now all of those arrests are being counted as FBI arrests, which helps Mr. Patel, Director Patel, claim that there is a huge spike in arrests, at least in the way that he's counting them. The second big takeaway here, Nicole, is about, something that everyone in America probably recognizes about the FBI, the most wanted list. this is supposed to be the 10 people that are the most dangerous villains in the world and that we've been hunting for them for possibly years. What my colleague Ken Delaney and I found in reviewing those, based on good information from sources, was that 4 of the 8 people that Kash Patel says were arrested from that fugitive list, that most villainous group, 4 were added within a month of actually being captured. And one of them was arrested in an hour and 13 minutes after being put on the list. As sources told us, these kinds of operations to seize dangerous fugitives don't happen in an hour and 13 minutes or even in 24 hours. And yet, again, 2 of the people that he says we famously captured were added to the list in a time when FBI agents said they knew they were going to arrest those people.
So I just want to make sure,
Now, first of all, wouldn't there be some footage of this if he were making all of these arrests specifically of people on America's Most Wanted top 10 list? Don't you all think that there would have been some footage? There would have been a news, a press conference or something to let us know that this all went down and transpired? This man is out of his mind. Was he drunk at the time he said all of this? Because this sounds crazy. And then talking about he caught one of them in an hour and 13 minutes, no less.
just try to dumb down the 2 categories, the 2 ways the numbers are being fudged and inflated. The first one is if the FBI is assisting another law enforcement agency, federal or state, they're adding all those numbers, whether they were the top cops on the job or not. Is that right?
That's right. And whether they put cuffs on anyone.
And then the second is feels really manipulative. They know they're closing in on someone. They either have a wiretap approved, or they know that they've got the goods, or they have planned to make the arrest. So they add that name to the most wanted, and then just coincidentally capture them within hours, days, or weeks.
That's right. Again, 4 of the 8 were people who were arrested within a month. 2 of the 8 were arrested within 24 hours of being added to the list.
So Michael Feinberg, it's clear that Kash Patel thinks that we're dumb. I don't even know that Kash Patel would dispute that. But he also thinks that the Bureau is as dumb and as shallow as he is. And I wonder how this collides with the integrity of the men and women who are still there.
You know, I think I've said before on your program, I don't know a single person still at the FBI or who has recently left it that has the slightest iota of respect for Kash Patel. He is widely viewed as a clown within the organization, but he's a clown with a flamethrower. And
did y'all hear that? They said he's widely viewed as a clown within the organization, a clown with a flamethrower, no less. This is all so sad. You know, it's interesting because I'm not shocked, because exactly the same has been said of Pete Kegg's breath and Trump. So the whole administration is nothing but clowns. Okay, Alexa, please send in the clowns, please. Now, D. Major Scaling says, Queen Ahmadiyyah, do you think Biden or Trump is worse? Please sit down somewhere. You literally did not just ask me that, beloved. Okay? You did not just ask me that. If you don't sit down somewhere, you know darn well Trump is 10 times worse than Biden. Okay, 10 times worse. He's taken away our freedom of speech. He's started this proxy war for It's Not Real under BB's direction. He's sitting up here, make us lose all of the allies that we ever had, okay? He's put Iran in a better place than they were in to start with. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The gas is $4 in Atlanta, and all this other BS is going on. They've killed children over in Iran. They're blowing up schools, at least 22 allegedly. Of course, it is safe to assume that Trump is 10 times worse, probably 100 times worse than Biden, beloved. But let's continue.
And a clown with a flamethrower can still do a lot of damage, and he has, to the individual lives of agents he's fired for political reasons, to the programs he has deprioritized in favor of immigration priorities, and you know, just to the institution itself with the manipulation of statistics, as Carol and Ken have shown. But we can't put all the blame on Kash Patel. I'd be remiss if I did not point out that this is also a failure of oversight. At every hearing where he has struggled to defend himself and distract from the various allegations against his integrity and character and situational judgment, he has screamed or paraded the statistics about crimes like murder or rape or robbery or other violent crimes. Most members of Congress, most members of the Senate, most representatives have been to law school. And somebody who's been through the first week of law school should realize none of those crimes that Kash Patel mentions are actually federal crimes. They're all state offenses over which the FBI does not have primary or original jurisdiction.
Did you all hear this? Did you all hear this? I know he didn't just say what he said, did he? Danielle says, Queen, don't say we, just say them, because we wouldn't have ever done this type of evil all around the world. Okay, you're absolutely right. D Major says, say what now? Honey, did y'all hear what he just said? Kash Patel is a fool. He says that most of these crimes that this fool has padded to make it look like he's made all these arrests are not even federal crimes. Okay, these are state level crimes that the feds wouldn't even be looking at. Oh my goodness, how dumb could he be? I mean, I knew he was incompetent clearly, but this is just too much. Let's continue.
So this has been painfully obvious to many of us when he talks about the murder rate dropping, when he talks about violent crime being stopped. What he's actually doing is stealing credit and honor from state and local law enforcement agencies that are doing the majority of the work. And he's taking credit simply because there might have been one FBI task force member out there with him.
Wow. This is so dark ridiculous. Where do they do this at? Clearly in the Trump administration. Ooh, honey, I absolutely cannot. I absolutely cannot.
I take your point on oversight, but and I take the point that the men and women who have made up the workforce of the FBI would find this sort of grifting honor offensive. But what does it say that, you know, it takes a piece of investigative journalism and that no one really pressed him on this in yesterday's questioning, Michael?
It's, I mean, look, I really think this is largely a failure of oversight. It should not be news to anybody in Congress or anybody in the media or anybody in the judiciary that Kash Patel dances around questions. And with very few exceptions, there have not been aggressive attempts to pin him down. Now, I do want to tie this back to the workforce you asked about for a second, though. And the reason the workforce may not be speaking about this largely is because the last thing that a real FBI agent cares about is statistics. You care about working your cases, you care about getting the bad guy off of the street, you care about protecting witnesses, and you care about making victims whole. Who gets credit doesn't matter. Whether it impresses the White House doesn't matter. Whether you can wave a flag and statistics in front of Congress does not matter either. The only people who care about those sorts of things are people like Kash Patel, who have no familiarity with the work and realize that the mission and the purpose has very little to do with the statistics you report.
This is all so crazy. I cannot believe half of the stuff that I'm hearing. Okay. And I should have read you all that report from the New York Post when they were talking about Tulsi Gabbard's office being raided, how they talking about they snatched the documents. They said they came in there and snatched up the documents. But hold on, because listen, I find this interesting because they're saying that Trump I'm not surprised. But they're saying that Trump has sold out the police for thug money. Yeah, they say Trump sold out the police for thug money, you all. Let's get into it, honey. This is all crazy. If anybody would do it, Trump would. Pay attention. You heard it here first.
News crossing the wire here. This is from ABC News with a report on that controversial IRS clash where Trump is effectively seems to be suing himself, but trying to abuse government powers. Well, this is completely unprecedented. The report is that Trump wants to use the suit, which he said he wanted to get billions from the government for, and it's against the IRS. Of course, his administration oversees the IRS, and this is what he wants in return: over $1 billion from taxpayers that he would use to give to allies, including people who might have been investigated or even convicted during the last administration. That includes people who allege they were harmed by the Biden administration's use of the legal system, and get this, in a what sounds, according to the ABC reporting, like an effort to fund and embrace violence against police officers. Trump would want to use taxpayer dollars to pay the over 1,000 people who've been charged in the January 6th attacks. Many of them, not all, but many, were linked to trespassing, violence against police, some, a handful, convicted of the serious crime of sedition against the United States. This is a breaking story, so I'm bringing back Emily Bazelon, who's agreed to jump into it, and Jason Johnson, who I mentioned is here, the professor and MSN analyst. Emily, this is totally outrageous. It's basically a suit that a judge recently said might not actually be valid because the parties aren't really averse. It was more of a Trump trick. But now he would be taking over $1 billion under the proposal from taxpayers and trying to give it to, among others, the people who attacked police.
Yeah, so we would be paying for this, us. We would be paying for relief for people he sees as victims of weaponization, and then all of these January 6th trespassers and people, even who committed violence. They have been putting a lot of pressure on the Trump administration for this kind of compensation from the government because they see themselves as wronged. And so this seems like an effort to
So you mean to tell me they want to give these thugs, these domestic terrorist, reparations? They want to give them reparations, but they can't give us any? Y'all, please pay attention. These people are playing in our faces, but let's continue.
Go along with that whole idea and actually give them money in addition to pardons and commutations of their sentences.
Jason, this is partly a legal story, but it's actually something much deeper than just the details of this, of what I look at as pretty much a sham, a ploy of a case. We've never seen a valid case like this against the IRS by a sitting president. I ask you more broadly, do Americans have to be concerned that if Donald Trump fomented violence to overthrow the election, then rewarded that violence by freeing those people from prison, now wants $1 billion slush fund to fund and enable and support those people who include criminal offenders? Do we have to be concerned that more broadly, this is part of a very tangible effort to ready and fund the type of people and shock troops who could do violence again if he doesn't like the results of future elections?
Ari, I said back when neo-Nazis marched through my college town, University of Virginia, Charlottesville, and Trump said there's people on both sides, I said this is a president who is perfectly comfortable with terrorism as long as it's what he wants. And this is essentially a terrorist slush fund. The idea of taking $1 billion of all of our taxpayer money, we just paid our taxes if you paid on time in April, and giving any of that money to people who attempted to overthrow the government, it is absolutely nothing but a criminal empire. But again, we have seen this. Every opportunity Donald Trump has, whether it's weaponizing the DOJ, whether it's weaponizing ICE, he wants to steal money from the American public, put it in his organization for peace or sue ABC. Every day he's hustling. Every day he's trying to find a new way to take money out of our pockets and fund the people who allow him to violently stay in power. This is just more of the same. I wish we had a Congress that was willing to do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, Emily, we don't know the exact sourcing at ABC, but typically there are people who sometimes leak this kind of thing because they are against it. They're concerned, and they're trying to put some word out to see whether a few Republicans in Congress or somebody else would do something. Reading from the new report here, It says the arrangement it would be a, quote, unprecedented use of taxpayer dollars with little oversight. They quote how Trump previously said, it's strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself. You know, he talks about this like it's happening randomly, but he's the one fomenting it. And it also notes suspiciously, Emily, that this would be just purely partisan in nature, that any remaining funds at the end of this term would just be returned to government before Trump leaves office. So there's not even a pretense. You know, if you do a compensation fund for firefighters who were hurt, that's like a real fund. Of course, it has nothing to do with when the administration changes, because you help firefighters for however long until they're all covered. Here, it just says, oh, when he leaves, they'll roll it all up. It says the compensation fund is believed to be the main condition for Trump to drop the legal actions. And that while in theory it wouldn't go to Trump, it says entities associated with Trump wouldn't be explicitly barred from getting claims.
Super. I mean, the people who would approve this settlement work for Donald Trump. So that is part of why the judge in the case has been uncertain about whether there is even a valid lawsuit here. And then you have this arc where we've gone from, you know, on the first day of office, Trump pardoned or commuted all the sentences of the January 6th rioters. At the time, he was making a very unpopular move. People didn't like it, but of course, things rolled along. Everyone gets distracted. There are a million things that come down the pike. And now we're at the point, not just of sending people home from, you know, jail sentences that they received after lots of due process, right? Huge investigation by the Justice Department. Judges in Washington spent months and years on these cases. Now we're actually going to pay them off if this story actually comes to fruition with taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, and Jason, so it is another step where you see that Trump is quite literally a pro-violence and anti-police president when it's, as you said, just the targets that he prefers.
And Ari, this is not happening in a vacuum. In the last week and a half, as we've seen voting rights absolutely decimated across this country, the president has also said he basically wants to build up an election army. Well, what better people could you be paying off than former January 6th terrorists, and they are terrorists, to pay them money and then deploy them to various states across the country to intimidate, harass, and very possibly steal votes if he does not like the outcome for this fall. None of these things are hard to predict. The problem is, when will anybody in the Justice Department, whether you're a Trump appointee or not, when will Democrats say we're going to stop everything? When will the Rand Pauls of the world, people who actually care about functional democracy, say this is too much and put up a stop to even the suggestion of something like this happening?
I find this absolutely egregious. Do you all hear this? Trump has got to be out of his mind. He wants to pay these thugs. Wow. This is all crazy. I mean, bad enough that he pardoned them so they could get out of prison. Okay, these are literal thugs and murderers. There were people that died at that riot. Okay, one of them was a police officer. But he wants to let them out and then pay them on top of it. This is all crazy. Anyway, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I have more receipts, but we'll get into it tomorrow. Okay, with that all being said, everyone enjoy the rest of this evening. I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
With that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got